Okay, so for today's test session, we're going to divide it basically into two parts. The first part is about 10 minutes long. We're just going to go and give you the reasons why you might need a placement test, some of the importance of having a proper placement. We'll go over some alternative placement options if you qualify, and then also typical placement testing options available on campus. For part two, we're going to compare Edready and ACCUPLACER, and a lot of times the question is, which one do I take? We'll give an overview of Edready as well as an overview of ACCUPLACER. I'll show you some of the resources that we have online, and then we'll take any questions. Since this is my first time doing this on Zoom, if you have any questions, feel free to type your question into the chat box. We'll go ahead and take time to answer them throughout the presentation. Okay, so let's get started. Why would I need to take a placement test? Well, there's three things. And first off, we're just trying to determine your readiness to take college level courses, and basically college level courses apply towards graduation and transfer to four-year colleges. So if you're starting here at Kapiolani Community College, you may want to transfer to UH Manoa, UH Hilo, UH West Oahu down the line. So we want to make sure that you get into your college level courses and you can get them to transfer ready or use them for graduation. For some of you, sometimes you might not be ready for college level courses like Math 100, English 100. Don't worry too much about that. We have developmental courses below the 100 level that will actually help you get ready for the college level course load. So there's a course for you, so don't worry too much about it. Okay. The second requirement is to meet requirements to register for a particular course. So for example, if you are planning to take Sociology 100, you'll need to get a placement into Math 82 and English 100. Believe it or not, there are some math concepts in some of the courses that you might not think there might be math concepts. So that's why in this particular case, Sociology 100 requires that you also place in Math 82 or higher. Now, for some of you, you might want to apply into a course or a program that Kapiolani Community College offers. So you might, so the placement test will be needed to enter or meet the application requirements for the KCC program. And then finally, just wanted to let everybody know that when you're taking a placement test, it's not pass or fail. There is a place for you, whether it's in Math 82 or Math 241 or English 100 or slightly below English 100, you're just getting placed. We want you to be successful in your courses. Okay, so let's move on to proper course placement and why it matters. Well, obviously the biggest issue is to save time and money. College does cost a lot of money. Even more so than when I was a first student back 25, 30 years ago. We want to avoid taking unnecessary courses. So we want you to get into your courses as quickly as possible. We want you to be successful in them, and we want you to stay on track and make sure you transfer or graduate on time. One of the things that is very, very helpful to students, and if you don't already use it, Star GPS. Use your Star GPS registration system. It does have a lot of course planning. It does tell you your time to graduation. So use that to track your progress from the beginning of your college career all the way to graduation, maybe transfer or to like UH Manoa, West Oahu, Hilo, etc. Okay. And of course, we want you to enroll in courses appropriate for your current abilities. Yeah, a lot of times students might take courses that are not appropriate for them. So, you might want to take like a Math 82, which is a college introduction to college algebra, but you end up taking like Math 103 or something higher, and you realize, hey, you know what? I'm really not ready for Math 103. So if you're only ready for Math 82, take the Math 82. And then really to just be successful in courses, you want your courses to be challenging, but you don't want to struggle and you don't want to be left behind, right? So that's one of the most important things for proper course placement. We want you to be successful, but we don't want you to struggle and fall behind in your courses. Okay. Any questions so far? You can again always the chat box is available, and then Guy will actually help me out reading out the questions if you have any. Okay. Okay, so continuing with proper course placement, why it matters. Your effort on the test is rewarded, so do take the test seriously, but just relax and just follow the instructions on your screen. Everything is going to be fine. If at the end of your test you feel that you place too low or too high, if you place too low and you think you can do better, consider retesting to improve your score. If you place too high, there's no reason why you cannot take a lower level course. So if, say, for example, you place into Math 140, which is trigonometry, and I just said previously that, you think you're not ready for trigonometry, it's okay to take a lower level course. And then this is one thing that I always advocate as students. Do seek the advice of your academic advisor, your instructor, because they are the best resources for you if you need help, if you're struggling academically and you need to kind of figure out your way through college. Your academic advisor, your instructor are actually the greatest help. So do periodically seek their advice throughout your time. Okay, so we do have alternative placement. I'm just going to bring everything up here. Let's see, actually, let's go back one. So basically, for alternative placement, if you qualify, you're basically exempt from taking a placement test. And that's a good thing because one less test, less stress. And then goal 2 is to allow direct placement to English to Math and English college courses. So students, let me backtrack again. So the second goal is to allow direct placement into college level Math or English courses. And then, as I mentioned previously, if you feel that if you aren't ready, again, go ahead and take the lower level Math or English course to make sure that you're successful. And then let's see. And then if you're a recent high school graduate, so if you recently graduated high school, you can use a alternative placement. You can use your SAT, ACT scores, Smarter Balance scores, high school grades and GPA. And then if you've ever done like your GED or high set as an adult learner, you can use those to bypass our placement testing requirements as well. So these are all alternatives. If you qualify, feel free to use it. Okay. Okay, so there are 2 placement testing options, College Board, ACCUPLACER, and Edready. The biggest question that we have is, which one do I choose? Okay. So let's compare for Edready and then ACCUPLACER. Basically, Edready is not proctored. You can take it from the comfort of your own home, any time of day, 24/7. It's basically at your convenience, right? It's computerized, multiple choice, and not timed. There's no retesting fees involved. So if you take the test once and you figure out, you know what, I didn't do so well, you can just hop on Edready again and try to improve your scores. Sometimes the scores can be used for general course registration. So if you're trying to get into English 100, Math 82, Math 103, Math 100, what have you, scores you get on Edready, you can go ahead and use for course registration. For ACCUPLACER, on the ACCUPLACER side, it is proctored in person. It must be taken at the testing center. It is computerized and multiple choice, and it is also not timed, but there is a caveat to that. You have to finish before closing time. And right now, for the current semester, we do close at 4 p.m. So if you come in the afternoon to take your test, you have until 4 p.m. to finish. You do have to schedule an appointment in advance. And then if you do need to retake the test again, retesting fees do apply. And of course, ACCUPLACER test scores are required to apply into some campus programs or to register for certain courses. Okay, so if you're trying to apply into any of these programs that's displayed here, ESOL, dental assisting, EMT, medical assisting, adult residential care home, nurse's aide, phlebotomy, and pharmacy technician, you are required to take the ACCUPLACER in person. And this is just basically a requirement for the programs. Yeah. And again, just to reiterate, KCC will accept both ACCUPLACER and Edready scores. But again, if you are in any of these programs that are displayed here, you do have to take the test in person. Okay. Okay, so what is Edready? Let's take a quick run through. It is a computerized placement test. It is multiple choice for both the math and English parts. The test has two parts. The mathematics has multiple subsections. Test 1, Test 2, and Test 3 will describe what they are in just a little bit. There is an English section as well. A lot of times, a lot of students will ask us, well, how much time does it take to complete? Give yourself about 2 to 3 hours and work at your own pace. But at the same time, the nice part about Edready is that you can stop and finish later as needed, and there's no limit as to the number of times you can stop and finish later. Okay. The only requirement that we have here is that you complete your test before the registration period begins, because if the registration period starts and you're wanting to register for courses, if you don't have your test scores completed, you're not going to be able to register for your courses. So just keep that in mind when doing the Edready. Okay. Moving on, so for Edready Math, the next question is, what sections do I take? So some of the questions that you can, ask yourself when you're trying to do the Edready, are you a STEM or non-STEM major? Okay, STEM majors usually require advanced math courses. So people like going into business, let's see, some engineering kind of thing, you'll need to go into like a calculus or such. For non-STEM majors, if you're going into like nursing, English, anything that doesn't require advanced math, you only need up to Math 100, 111, or 115. Okay. On Edready, most students will only need to take one section. And then to just give yourself slightly more math options, consider taking Math Path 1 and 2 or Math Path 2 and 3. Taking all 3 sections is completely not necessary. I assume that assuming that you've had previous math experience, you don't have to do every single math path out there. So, save yourself some time, save yourself some stress, and then you can just get these 2 sections done. So again, on Math Path 1 and 2, Math 2 and 3, I'll show you what they are in just a little bit. Okay. So for Math Path 1, this is our non-STEM or college math placement. If you successfully complete Math Path 1, you'll get placed into one of these courses here. Math 100, 111, and 115. If you don't meet the requirements to get placed into Math 100 or 115 by itself, we do have Math 100 and 115 with a Math 78 companion course. So those are the Math 78 is just a companion course to go along with the main course. And this is for students who don't quite meet the requirements to take the 100 level courses by itself. And then what will you be tested in Math Path 1? Whole numbers, fractions, mixed numbers, decimals, ratios, rates, and proportions, percentage, measurement, and real numbers. So this is just basically the non-STEM requirements for the math. Okay. For Math Path 2, STEM and algebra placement, this is the start of the STEM pathway. So the lowest STEM course available is Math 82, which is your algebraic foundations. It goes all the way up to Math 241, Calculus 1. But if you're just taking Math Path 2, these are courses that you can possibly get placed into. Okay, so that's there. What will you be tested in Math Path 2? These are some of the items that you'll be tested on Math Path 2. So I'll take a moment for you to just browse through that really quick. Okay. And then the third part is our STEM or calculus placement. And if you successfully complete Math Path 3, you'll get placed into one of our more advanced courses, whether it's pre-calculus, applied calculus, which is business 250, trigonometry, or calculus. Okay. And then what's surprising is for Math Path 3 in Edready, there's really not much more to add on. So this is our STEM calculus topics that you'll be tested on when taking Math Path 3 in Edready. Okay. Okay. And then continuing on with Edready English portion, there is only one test. Upon completion, you'll get placed into one of these courses. So it's either English 97, English 100, or English 100S. Okay. And the nice part about this English Edready test is that it's multiple choice. And then the multiple choice test will cover these topics here. Okay. And then notice mine says in progress. I mean, I kind of started it, but I didn't start any, I didn't really answer any questions. So that's why it shows in progress. And then the score up here with the question mark, I haven't completed anything, so it doesn't give me a score. So don't worry too much about that. Okay, so some tips for Edready. The very first attempt that you take, whether you do English and math, it will give you an initial score. And with an initial score, you can either stop and register for the courses based on the score that you first got. Or if you need addition, if you feel, what, that's not where I place, I want to see if I can do a little bit better, you can go back to the study path and improve on your initial test score. You can learn and expand your knowledge. And when you do enough learning and expanding your knowledge, you can go ahead and do the testing portion and check your knowledge. And then you can actually see if your score improves that way. I just want to caution everybody that improving your initial test score will open up more course choices, but I don't recommend chasing a perfect score by taking the test over and over and over and over again. If you do need to retest, maybe take it 1 or 2, maybe 3 times maximum. I've actually seen somebody that actually got a perfect score on the math, but when they came in for in-person testing, instead of getting placed into Math 241, they actually got placed back into Math 82. So just because you can take Edready over and over and over doesn't mean that you might actually be ready for the actual course. So just wanted to give you that caution there, okay? Additionally, with Edready, you can use save and save and close option whenever you need it. So basically, if you're taking your test and you have something else you have to do, you have to go to work, or if you have to cook dinner or whatnot, you can save and close, save your progress, come back to it whenever you want. It's no pressure, okay? To access Edready, you go to your uhcc.edready.org. If you haven't already created your account, you'll create your account. Make sure you use an email that you check regularly. So whether it's your hawaii.edu email or your personal email that you constantly check, maybe on a daily basis or whatnot, feel free to use that. And then the goal key. We always get questions. People call us up or email us, and the goal key is case sensitive UH_KAP_placement, and it's all uppercase. Okay. Are there any questions on Edready? Feel free to put it into the chat. Is there any questions that popped up so far, Guy? No? Okay, perfect. We'll come back to your questions if you have anything else on Edready, but we're going to switch over to the ACCUPLACER side now. So the ACCUPLACER side is, again, it's a computerized placement test. It's multiple choice. The test is adaptive. So basically what adaptive testing means is that you'll start off your test with question number 1. Based on how you answer your question, answer question number 1, right or wrong. The second question will be more difficult if you answer the previous question correct, or less difficult, or a little easier if you answer it incorrectly. So this process continues throughout the entire test. So in the case of math, for example, if you have 20 questions, if you answer question 1 correct, answer question 2 correct, answer question 3 correct, answer question 4 correct, you can pretty much guess that the 5th question along the line will be a lot more difficult than what you initially started with. And this is just adaptive testing in a nutshell. Okay, that whole process continues through the entire test, all the way to the end of your test. For the math portion, the test has 2 parts. There is a mathematics section and it has multiple subsections. But one of the things that we do here at Kapiolani is that there are 3 sections: arithmetic, algebra, and advanced algebra, but we only require you to choose 1 or 2 sections as a starting point. And it's just because every section has 20 questions each. If you were to go through all 3 tests, it could mean that you're going to go through 60 questions, and that's just a lot of questions to go through. It does take a lot of time as well. So we try to limit the amount of time that you spend on the test, but we also try to, at the same time, make sure that you get placed accurately as well. Yeah. The second part to the test is a WritePlacer. That's our English portion of the test. We'll go into more detail on the next couple of slides. And then if English is your second language for ESL students, if you're an international student, F1 student, you'll be taking the ESL reading and WritePlacer ESL test. The time to complete, it does take about maybe 1.5 to 2 hours. Just want to caution though, for students taking the ESL portion of the test, it does take a little while longer. We find that ESL students in particular do spend a lot more time composing an essay. So, you know, if you feel that your test is going on and on and on without end, take your time. Don't rush. We're just trying to get you placed into the correct courses. Yeah. So every student's test is different, and it's just based on their own abilities. Okay. Because the test is not timed, you can work at your own pace. But again, as I mentioned earlier, you have to finish by closing time again, which is 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Okay, so for ACCUPLACER Math, when you start off on the math portion, you can either start off on the quantitative reasoning, algebra, and statistics portion, or the advanced algebra and functions portion of the test. Each section has 20 questions. Most students will actually finish within 20 questions. Very rarely would the system prompt you to do an additional section. Okay, so things to think about when choosing your starting point on the ACCUPLACER Math. Are you a STEM or non-STEM major? STEM majors typically require advanced math courses. So Math 82, 103, 135, 140, 241. Non-STEM majors, again, only require up to Math 100, 111, or 115. Okay. Now, if your goal is to take Math 135 or higher, and you've already had experience with higher level math, consider just taking the advanced algebra and function section. The reason why we say this is because if you if your knowledge level is to the point where you can do the trigonometry, you can do the pre-calculus, you can do the calculus. If you start off at quantitative reasoning, algebra, and statistics, you'll have to go through 20 questions. If you do super, super well in that, in which we think you will because you have higher math experience, it's also going to ask you to do 20 more questions of the advanced algebra and functions. So to shorten up your testing time, if you have experience with higher level math, start off with advanced algebra and functions, because then you can just shorten up your test time and you'll probably get a placement that's pretty close to what you expect in that section. Okay. Wanted to point you through some online resources here on our testing center website. Let's click on that real quick. If you go to testing.kapiolani.hawaii.edu, you just click on ACCUPLACER placement test, click on the study guides and other resources. Some of the things that you can use here, you can use the free web-based study app. Go to practice.accuplacer.org/login. You'll need to create an account using any email address. You'll need to log in every time you use the platform. These are not actual test questions, but it will mimic the test taking experience. Okay. When the system prompts you, go ahead and use the next generation practice test, because we do use the next generation tests here at the testing center. If you're looking for ACCUPLACER Math, WritePlacer, and ESL tests, we do have some sample questions here. These are just PDFs that you can open up. Again, the three math portions are the arithmetic, quantitative reasoning, algebra and statistics, advanced algebra and functions. It does have an answer key over there too. Feel free to use that. For ACCUPLACER WritePlacer, we have a content overview. And then we do have a WritePlacer guide with sample essays. So if you ever wanted to see what a perfect essay looks like, we call it a score of 8, you can see that. If you want to see what an essay would barely just get you into English 100 with a score of 5, it kind of shows you the levels of essays that would pretty much qualify for a score of 0 to 8. If you are an ESL student and need to take ESL courses, we do have our reading sample questions, and then we do have our WritePlacer guide with sample essays. So the scores for the ESL side are slightly more different. It's a 0 to 6 on the essay. The WritePlacer guide will actually give you an essay that meets a definition of a 6. And everything else that goes all the way down to 0. Feel free to use that. More math resources. We do have Khan Academy. Khan Academy is really good for the math portions because it actually gives very specific topics in math. So if you just wanted to hone in on 1 or 2 or 3 specific areas of math that you're probably having trouble in, you can go to that portion, Khan Academy, and it can actually work you through that. Okay. We do have some books over at the library. These are our reserve collection. It's 2-hour loans. You can see the circulation counter inside of the library. 2-hour loan, you can renew it once if you need more than 2 hours. Additionally, I've also provided the ISBN numbers. You can also purchase these books from Amazon.com if you wanted to keep that in your home library if you wanted to. Okay. These are slightly older books, but really they actually cover a lot of the stuff that you might see on your test. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and move over. So that's just some of our resources that you can take a look at. Okay. Yeah, so we actually just went over this. You can use the Practice web app. You can use a sample questions packet. You can use study books, study guides at the circulation counter. Yeah. And then also, if you needed to do the ACCUPLACER in person, you can actually help prepare yourself by using Edready. Take advantage of a free resource. It's really, really cool to always use free resources. Use a study path and test my knowledge resources to gauge your readiness. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to ACCUPLACER English again. If you have any questions throughout, just send them through the chat box. Guy will let me know, and then we can answer them along your way. But let's go ahead and continue with the English portion. If English is your first language, you're only required to do one typed essay, typically 300 to 600 words long, and then the topic is randomly assigned when the test starts. At the completion of your test, you'll probably get placed into one of these courses: English 97, English 100S, or English 100. With the English portion, just wanted to point out that writing is a process. It's write, proofread, edit. You're just going to keep on working at that over and over and over again until you get your essay written up. But the structure does matter. You want to make sure that your essay comes complete with an introduction. You state the thing that you want to write about in the introduction. So whether you're arguing for or against something, if you're trying to persuade someone, you want to try to drum it up all in the introduction. Of course, you need your supporting paragraphs in the body, and then that supports your introduction. And then you want to have a solid conclusion as well, so that the conclusion just ties up the whole essay, the whole structure. Again, structure matters: introduction, body, conclusion. As long as you do it that way, as long as you write something that's very coherent and that makes sense, you're gonna get an English 100 placement. It's I actually see a lot of students go through the English portion on the ACCUPLACER, and a lot of people get their 5s or above. So they just stick to the structure, stick to the topic, write about it, and story tell. That's what essay writing is. Just tell a story, and if you can do it that much, you'll probably get your English 100 placement. Okay. Your essay will be given a holistic score, and these are the 6 characteristics of writing that will be considered as you do your essay. So, do you have a strong purpose and focus? How's your organization and structure? As I just mentioned, how do you develop the essay? Is it wishy-washy? Is it concrete? Is it really, really, really good? Do you vary your sentences, or do you keep on going over and over in a complete circle? And then it does do some mechanical conventions and critical thinking. So as you write, it also tests your critical thinking skills as well. So that's just some things to think about as you're working through the ACCUPLACER English portion of the test. Okay, so for those students who are whose English is a second language, you'll mostly take the ESL reading and WritePlacer ESL tests. I just wanted to point out the format of this test. Part 1 is the reading section. It's multiple choice, A, B, C, D, E, and 20 questions long. Basically, the point being for the ESL reading section is that they want you to be able to read a short passage and be able to recall information about what you read. Again, it's not that long, 20 questions. Most students will actually finish the ESL reading portion maybe in about 30 minutes, okay? The part 2 of the ACCUPLACER ESL portion is the WritePlacer. This is the longer portion of the test. Very, very similar to the WritePlacer for native speakers of English. Same applies for the ESL portion. You'll have one typed essay, 300 to 600 words long. You can write less, you can write more. And then, of course, again, your topic is randomly assigned when the test starts. If you do well, you'll get placed into one of these courses, one of these ESL courses here. Very, very similar to the WritePlacer, write, proofread, edit, write, proofread, edit, as you continually write your essay. Again, the structure does matter. So as I mentioned previously, introduction, body, and then conclusion. As long as you meet those requirements and your essay sounds very, very well, I think and I'm sorry, not sounds very well, but if your essay is written fairly well, you'll probably get a 5 or 6, 4, 5 or 6 on your essay portion. And then these are the topics that, or these are the characteristics covered on the ESL portion. So because English is a second language for these students, it's weighed slightly less heavily. So they check you on word use, sentence use, grammar, and organization development. Again, I think organization and development is one of the more is the bigger portion of the test. And then as I've seen actually as well, students do take a longer amount of time on this portion of the test. I've actually seen people take maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. Again, it's not time, but you do have to finish before closing. But, again, if your test is going long, if you're feeling frustrated, it's just because, again, writing is a process and there's really no way around that process. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so for the WritePlacer and ESOL WritePlacer, don't chase for the perfect score. Prepare, practice, use the question packets if necessary. Prepare using books and study guides. See the circulation counter. A lot of times, one of the best ways to really get prepared for the English portion or essay writing portion is to actually do a lot of reading. So if you read books, newspapers, magazines, you can see the different varieties and styles of reading of writing. That actually is very common in college. So whether you write a scholastic paper for one of your courses, if you write a argumentative or persuasive paper for one of your classes, by reading different forms of media, different forms of books and whatnot, you'll kind of get an idea of the different kinds of writing styles that you might experience throughout your college career. Okay. Okay, so retest policy, if you have to take the ACCUPLACER in person, if you've never taken the test before, your first attempt in any section, math, English, or ESOL is free of charge. If you meet your requirements, if you get placed into English 100, Math 103, or what have you, and you like your score and you don't have to take it again, there's no fees required. If you have to retake the test again to improve on your score or to meet course requirements or to meet application requirements for a program, we do charge retest fees each time you take the test after your free attempt. So it's $25, but the nice part about it is that we take your placement based on your highest unexpired score. So if you take the test 5 times and the third time is where you got your highest score, your final placement will be based on the highest score on your third attempt. Okay. If you have expired test scores, you basically start off fresh. So you'll get a free take if you have to take your test again. And then if you retake the test again within that 2-year period, we'll then go ahead and charge you that retest fee. Okay. So again, to recap, placement tests might be required to register for courses. Placement tests are not pass or fail tests. They're just placement tests. We just want to find out where your abilities are so that you can get them, so that you can register for courses that are most appropriate for you. Placement tests aren't timed, which is always a nice thing. And again, don't chase a perfect test score. It's not necessary. It's better to be challenged in your courses and be successful than to struggle and fall behind. So if you're the type to oh, I have to get the 100%, I have to get the 100%. Not really. It's not really necessary. And then to reiterate my point, you want to take courses that are appropriate for your skill set. You don't want your courses to be difficult or too easy for you. Okay. If there's any questions, again, the chat is open. You can unmute yourself. You can go ahead and ask questions that way. Our website is at testing.kapiolani.hawaii.edu. if you have to take a test in a testing center, you can schedule an appointment using the link there. If you have any questions beyond this presentation, you can always drop by, call, or email us with your questions. We'll be more than happy to assist you there as well. So with that, this ends the presentation. Are there any questions from anybody? You can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.